Spike and Applejack returned to Ponyville, with Hugh in tow. As they entered the recovering town, the citizens of Ponyville turned to look at them with a mix of shock and horror. Pinkie Pie spied them and ran up to meet them.
"What is he doing here?"
she asked, looking at Hugh.
"He's after my Mersey bandits! You can't bring him here!"
"She's right,"
Applejack said.
"but we can't have him running around. He was so destructive, and he tried to kill us twice."
"I want to, Pin.
Hugh said.
I want to help rebuild this town. Please, I want to be part of the process. I want to be useful again like I once was."
"You're not welcome here!"
Rainbow Dash shouted.
"Yeah, you better run him out of town."
Rarity shouted.
"No!
Applejack said.
We need his help. We can't fight this war without him."
What?
Asked Rarity.
"Don't you see?
Applejack said.
The Nightmare Tyrant has been destroyed. There's no more evil in Equestria. Everyone in this town can finally feel safe again. We can rebuild our town and make it even better than it was. The Nightmare Tyrant has been banished into the shadows where he can't hurt anyone. What's stopping us from having a good time again?"
You heard Rainbow Dash.
Pinkie said, gesturing at the young Pegasus.
You're not welcome here. Equestria has suffered enough.
Rarity said.
We don't need any more villains. Let her go.
We don't want him around.
Said Rainbow Dash.
Yeah, let's send him back to his maker.
Said Scootaloo.
Should he?
Applejack said.
Let's just get to work.
The citizens of Ponyville were hesitant to help the trio, but they did their best to rebuild the town. Everyone avoided Hugh, but he did his best to help how he could. Without the nightmare power, he was just a normal man, but he worked as hard as anyone else. Over the next few weeks, Hugh worked side by side with the citizens of Ponyville to rebuild their town. They worked on homes for the poor and disabled and built schools for the children. The town was a lot better than it was before Nightmare Cops and the Nightmare Tyrant took over. And slowly, the citizens of Ponyville warmed up to Hugh. It was at a party celebrating the reopening of the school when Hugh saw Twilight for the first time since he lost his power, laughing and talking with her boyfriend, Mordecai. He immediately rushed up to her and asked if he could talk to her.
Sure.
She said.
"I want to apologize for what I did."
He said.
"I want to say that I was wrong. I want to be useful again."
Twilight gave him a strange look.
You were never wrong. Hugh, what exactly do you want to say?
Hugh sighed. He glanced over at Mordecai, then back to Twilight.
"But I want to be your friend again. But I want to be part of your group. But I want to be a part of Equestria."
Well, you still are.
Twilight said.
"I know, and I want to do it properly. I want to be a better person.
Well, I guess I can accept that.
Together, motherhood."
Twilight smiled and embraced Hugh.
Welcome back.
She said. Hugh left with a spring in his step and went to find Applejack and the others.
"So, how do you feel?"
Applejack asked as they walked arm in arm through the streets.
"Baby, I haven't read enough."
Hugh said.
"Good.
Applejack said.
We need you. We can't fight this war without you.
I know.
I think I like this version of you better.
Applejack said.
You were always a little too serious for me, but I like this new you. I like the light in your eyes."
"Me too."
Hugh said. Applejack smiled and they walked arm in arm through the streets of Ponyville. The next morning, the town was attacked by a massive swarm of something. They looked like giant horned bees with large, multifaceted eyes. They swarmed the town and attempted to break down the wooden doors of the townhouses with their incredible force. However, the citizens of Ponyville had planned ahead. All across town, the ponies had placed traps for the swarm members. These traps, hidden in bushes and behind dumpsters, were full of a deadly pesticide that would render the bees completely helpless. Even better, the pesticide was harmless to ponies. It had been Hugh's idea, and together with Twilight and the others, they were able to defend the town. Eventually, the bees were defeated, and the citizens of Ponyville could relax. In the weeks that followed, the town slowly began to recover. The Nightmare Cops were no longer a threat, Nightmare Cops could only operate in the shadows, and the Nightmare Tyrant was trapped in the Nightmare Realm. The Nightmare Realm, in the aftermath of the conflict, was unable to project itself into our world. It was as if the Nightmare Tyrant had never existed. Hugh built a home for himself, deciding to stay in Ponyville, while some ponies, like Pinkie Pie, still didn't trust him, most had come to accept his presence in the town. However, one night, he awoke with a cold sweat. The Nightmare Tyrant's voice echoed in his mind.
Nightmare Tyrant will return. He will return, and he will take what is rightfully his.
Hugh had been experiencing nightmares for some time now, and it worried him. He decided he needed to visit Zecora.
"I'll go visit Zecora,"
he said to his friends.
You sure?
Asked Scootaloo.
I can go with you, if you want.
"No, I'll be your guest later."
Hugh made his way to Zecora's abode. The mysterious zebra was still recovering from her own battle with the Nightmare Tyrant, and was still unable to leave her home. Hugh knocked on the door and waited.
"Come in."
Zecora said. Hugh entered the humble abode. He looked around, examining Zecora's collection of treasures.
"This place is incredible. You say this place was once a spaceship."
No, it's the exact opposite. This place used to be just an old, run-down hut. Then I fixed it up.
"You like it?"
I do.
Said Zecora, smiling.
I really do. It's home.
Hugh smiled and sat down in a chair.
I've been having nightmares.
He explained.
The nightmare twin taunts me and tells me he'll return.
But you defeated him, didn't you?
Zecora asked.
Spike told me that you slayed him with Excalibur yourself.
I did,
Said Hugh.
but I still have nightmares. They're getting worse.
I think I have a potion that might help.
Zecora said.
I used it on myself when I was first injured. It was a mixture of aloe, honey, and other healing things, but it seemed to work. Maybe it will work on you.
You really think so?
Well, I never use it on myself, so I don't really know. Try it. If it doesn't work, then I'll make you another.
Okay,
Hugh stood up. He followed Zecora into the other room, where she poured some water into a pot and placed it on a stove.
what are you making?
Hugh asked.
How?
Zecora said, smiling.
I'm not making you a potion. I'm making you breakfast.
I don't understand.
Said Hugh.
Breakfast? The middle of the night.
Zecora giggled.
You're funny. Woman!
She said.
Now sit down and eat.
Hugh sat at the table. He looked at his meal, which consisted of a bowl of oatmeal and a small bowl of fruit.
I've never eaten breakfast so late.
He said.
I'm not surprised. After all, the only time most ponies eat is in the middle of the day. Sit down and eat. Who'll wake you up?
Hugh sat down and dug in. The oatmeal was delicious, and it tasted great with milk. It was one of the best breakfasts he had ever had.
This is great.
He smiled.
I feel like a new man.
Don't get too comfortable.
Zecora warned.
You're going to have to leave soon.
Hugh asked, spooning more oatmeal into his mouth.
Why, where are we going?
To the Everfree forest, of course. The Nightmare Tyrant is still out there. Turn at any moment.
But
Hugh's mouth fell open.
you mean we are on adventure?
In a way.
Said Zecora.
In a way, yes.
Hugh was so happy, he forgot all about his nightmares. They left the abode of the strange zebra and walked into the forest.
So where are we going?
Hugh asked.
To find the rest of the main six.
Really, you mean actually going to see them?
Yes.
Said Zecora, smiling.
In fact, you're already here. You just don't know it yet.
Hugh's face fell. He glanced at the sky and saw that the sun had already risen.
Oh, well, in case,
He looked at Zecora.
let's go.
Good luck.
She said, smiling.
I hope you find them.
Hugh followed Zecora deeper into the forest. It was early evening when they reached the outskirts of the forest. They stopped in front of a cave.
That's it.
Hugh asked, disappointed.
That's the entrance.
That's the entrance.
Zecora said.
Now, follow me.
She walked into the cave. Hugh followed, with a look of bewilderment on his face. The cave was pitch black.
How will we find our way?
He asked.
I can't see a thing.
That's okay.
Zecora replied.
No one ever comes here.
Hugh felt his way along the wall of the cave. He walked for what seemed like hours, going deeper and deeper into the cave. He wondered if he was even going in the right direction. The cave seemed to go on for eternity. Suddenly, his foot hit something solid. Hugh carefully put his foot down and walked into a new room.
This is Nightmare Tyrant's lair?
He cried.
Shoot.
Said Zecora.
We are not alone.
It's not the Nightmare Tyrant, is it?
Hugh asked, his blood running cold.
No, it's someone else.
Zecora said, her voice trembling. Hugh turned his light onto the room's occupant.
Hello.
A feminine voice said.
I've been waiting for you.
Hugh turned off his light.
Applejack.
He asked.
Well, it ain't no ordinary Applejack.
Hugh shivered. The Nightmare Tyrant had mentioned the vampire warlord having an extrasensory perception based on a sixth sense. And this was it.
Who are you?
He asked.
You don't remember me?
The voice asked.
But of course you wouldn't. You and I only existed in your nightmares. I am your wife.
My wife? Hell!
Hugh swallowed.
I mean, I don't remember marrying you.
It's my fault, darling.
The woman said.
When I told you my sister's magic would make you forget everything, I was lying. You see, I was the Nightmare Tyrant's companion. When he was banished from Equestria, I went with him. I was the Nightmare King's bride.
You can be.
Hugh said.
You died.
I know, darling. That's why I've come back. I couldn't live without you.
Hugh felt his eyes widen. This was even worse than he had imagined. His mind reeled. The Nightmare King's wife was back from the dead. If he wasn't supposed to remember this, why was it so difficult for him to forget?
But I thought.
He sputtered.
I thought you were banished to the moon.
I was.
The former Nightmare Queen said.
But I couldn't bear to live without you. You see, I still have my bite marks. I can't get rid of them. They were what made you love me in the first place.
She's a vampire.
Zecora said.
That's how she does it. alive.
I thought vampires could come back from the dead.
Hugh cried.
She's come back from the dead.
Sakura cried.
I learned a lot on the moon.
She continued.
I learned about your kind, and I invented this trick. With my bite marks, I can make the blood of my victims last for days. That's why you loved me. That's why you still love me.
Monster.
Hugh screamed.
Well, I never did like that moon. So miserable, so desolate. I'm glad to be back in Equestria. I'm glad to be back with my beloved husband.
My nightmare is over.
Hugh said, smiling weakly.
Not yet, darling.
The Nightmare Queen said.
There's still the matter of our children. We've got a whole lot of love to give.
Hugh's heart skipped a beat.
Children, you mean you want to?
Kiss me, darling.
The Nightmare Queen said.
I know you don't remember, darling, but I do, and now how much you love me.
But I don't.
You don't want darling?
I don't know if I do.
Hugh said, his voice breaking.
Well, I do.
Huh. Don't fall for it.
Sakura warned.
That vampire can make you love her forever.
I am my darling wife.
Hugh said.
That's right.
The Nightmare Queen cooed.
That's right.
Sakura knew she had to act fast. She couldn't kill the Nightmare Queen, not when she was so close to getting her family back. Sakura rushed forward and grabbed Hugh by the collar, yanking him away from his wife.
You stay away from her, huh?
She said.
You hear me? You stay away from her.
I love her.
Hugh cried.
Are you trying to steal my man, Ebra?
The Nightmare Queen snarled.
I love him too.
Sakura said.
You hear me? I love him too.
Then why did you bring him here?
The Nightmare Queen hissed.
I don't know.
Sakura cried.
I don't know.
The Nightmare Queen let out a blood-curdling shriek.
You are alive, filthy monster.
Sakura shouted.
You are alive, filthy monster.
My dearest sister.
The Nightmare Queen hissed.
I will not be denied my love. Not now, not ever.
Sakura dragged Hugh out of the cave.
We got to get out of here.
She cried.
You can't just leave her.
Hugh said.
She'll find us.
Sakura said. Hugh shuddered, as if shaking off sleep.
She what?
He said.
I knew Zipper.
I love you too. Huh?
No, I mean, really you.
I know.
So we're good.
You will good.
Sakura said. Sakura and Hugh ran out of the cave, back towards their village. They had to get to Twilight somehow and warn her about the Nightmare Queen, but they didn't get far when a blood-red swarm of bats swarmed out of the cave. The Nightmare Queen had found them.
I told you she'd find us.
Sakura said. The Nightmare Tyrant had a nightmare. The Nightmare Tyrant dreamed he was in a forest. He was a hero. He was on a quest to save the princess. He was so sure of himself. He was so invulnerable. Then he heard a rustling in the bushes.
Sure.
He whispered. He heard the sound again. He peeked from behind a tree and saw a fox.
Hey.
He shouted.
Greetings, noble warrior.
The fox said.
Am I seeing you right? I'm Princess Luna, ruler of the night, and I wish you good day.
Luna?
He murmured.
I knew a Luna once a long time ago.
Is that so?
The Luna said.
I knew a nightmare tyrant once. I never expected to see him again.
What are you doing here?
The Nightmare Tyrant asked.
I had a nightmare too.
Luna said.
A nightmare one, we might say. A close friend was turned against me, and I came here to find a way to wake myself up.
You can't.
The Nightmare Tyrant said.
That's impossible. I'm the Nightmare Tyrant. I'm inevitable.
I don't believe that.
Luna said.
I think I can wake myself up. I just need the help of a hero.
Well, I'm no hero.
The Nightmare Tyrant said.
But I'll help you.
What did you have a nightmare about?
I was eaten by wolves.
You can trust a fox.
Luna said.
But perhaps I can trust you.
I suppose you could.
The Nightmare Tyrant said.
But I don't think that you'll be able to trust me once I wake up.
Let's test your trustworthiness.
Luna said.
Go on.
The Nightmare Tyrant said.
Very well.
Luna said.
Once I wake up, I will try to kill you.
I know.
The Nightmare Tyrant said.
I will try to kill you right back.
But that wasn't right, was it? Wasn't he already dead?
Well, I suppose we should get this quest started.
Luna said, and she lunged at him. The Nightmare Tyrant was caught off guard, and he was no hero, and he was dead. The Nightmare Tyrant was dead. The Nightmare Tyrant fell as dead could be. His heart was no longer beating. He'd been slain by Excalibur. His blood no longer pumped. He could not even feel his own body. But he could still see, and he could still hear, and he could still smell, and he could still taste, and he was still hungry. Hungry for blood, hungry for flesh, hungry for life, and death. The Nightmare Tyrant could still see, and he could still hear. The Nightmare Tyrant would have his revenge. For every wrong done to him, he would right a wrong. For every life taken, he would take 10, and he would feast, and he would grow stronger, and he would find more vampires, and more nightmare mares, and more blood-headed demons, and he would find something to fill his eternal hunger. And that's where we'll be leaving off for now. I really had no idea where Hugh Goes to Ponyville would lead, but the AI had a number of curveballs for me this time. We'll see more of the Nightmare Queen's pursuit of Hugh and Sakura next time, but for now, I need to address something that's been going on that's going to affect this season as a whole. So recently, a number of prominent voice actors have spoken out against having their voices used for AI text-to-speech in services like UberDuck. As a result, a lot of characters have had their voices just removed from Duck lately. This is, of course, their right, but it does mean some changes are going to be happening to Nightfall. One voice that disappeared was Twilight Sparkle. You might have noticed sounds a little bit different now, and that's because there was an impression of her uploaded as a replacement, so I'm just going to be using that going forward. When I don't have a convenient impression like that to use, I may just have to write out or replace characters entirely. For example, the Luna who appears in our final scene of this chapter was originally going to be Princess Luna from My Little Pony, but her voice was gone, so now she's voiced by Luna from Let's Go Luna, who's like a moon character and kind of can fill the same role that Princess Luna was going to fill in this season. This whole season, by the way, was already written before I began editing this chapter, so I'm just going to have to keep making similar changes as necessary along the way. I'll try and update you all with whatever changes were made in a given chapter during this section of the video, so you'll have some kind of idea of what the season looked like before I had to make those changes. At any rate, thank you for watching, and I hope you all will enjoy Season 5 of Nightfall. It's a strange but exciting one, I think, and I'll be back with the next chapter as soon as I'm able to, you know. But for now, if you happen to miss the previous chapter, here's a little clip.
I am not your emperor.
The Nightmare Master said.
I am the Nightmare Realm.
Fluttershy shook her head.
No,
She said.
you're not. I am.
Pink light burst from Fluttershy's hoof through the Nightmare Master. Pink light shone from his eyes and his mouth, and his body filled with love.
I am the Nightmare Realm.
She said, smiling. And in that moment, the Nightmare Master was no longer the Nightmare Tyrant, the Nightmare Emperor, or the Nightmare Realm. He was just Hugh.
Now